Chapter 1. The problem with being the nice guy. Let's start with the most uncomfortable truth. Being nice doesn't make women want you. That doesn't mean women want to be treated poorly. It doesn't mean they're attracted to toxicity or abuse. But if you're showing up with kindness and still getting ignored, if you're texting good morning every day and she's barely replying, if you're complimenting her every chance you get and she still calls you just a friend, then we have to face the facts. Nice by itself is not attractive. Why? Because being nice isn't a personality. It's often a strategy, a quiet, desperate trade. If I treat you well enough, maybe you'll pick me. But women don't respond to negotiation. They respond to presence. They respond to certainty. They respond to men who don't chase validation because they already have their own. And that's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics weren't nice. They weren't cruel either. They were grounded. They were disciplined. They were unattached to things they couldn't control, and especially other people's approval. They didn't perform to be liked. They didn't beg to be chosen. They didn't bend their values just to be accepted. And you know what that energy does to women, especially high-value women? It draws them in, because in a world full of guys trying to impress, entertain, flatter, and chase, the man who doesn't need her is the one she's most curious about. So let me ask you this. Are you being nice because it's who you are? Or because it's what you think will get you chosen? Are you offering genuine kindness? Or are you trying to secure emotional real estate with a smile and a compliment? Are you grounded in your worth? Or are you hoping she'll validate it for you? Because if you're honest, painfully honest, you might realize that your niceness isn't love, it's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of not being seen as good enough without doing something extra to earn it. But Stoic men don't operate from fear. They operate from principle. And that's the difference between the guy who gets friend-zoned and the guy who gets remembered. Chapter 2. Chasing is for the insecure, not the Stoic. Let's kill the illusion. Chasing is not romantic, it's desperate, and women can feel it, even when it's dressed up in compliments, good intentions, or carefully crafted texts. Because when you're chasing her, here's what you're really saying. You're the prize. I'm trying to prove myself. I'm not sure where I stand, Tuan, so let me buy your attention with effort. I hope I'm enough, but I'm not sure I am unless you tell me. That's not confidence. That's uncertainty wrapped in politeness. And it bleeds through in everything. How fast you text back, how often you double text, how much you adjust your personality just to keep her interested, how nervous you get when she pulls away. But let me tell you something. A grounded Stoic man doesn't chase. He observes, he invites, he leads. But he never lowers himself to pursue someone who isn't showing up with the same energy. Because he understands something most men never learn. The more you chase something, the more you're telling yourself you don't already have it. That's why she pulls away. Not because you're not good enough, but because you don't believe you are. Now here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing, women start leaning in. Not because you're playing games, not because you're mystery man, but because your energy says one thing clearly. I'd love to share my life with someone, but I don't need anyone to feel whole. That's magnetic, that's masculine, that's Stoic. And women don't just notice it, they respect it, they feel safe around it. They become drawn to the emotional strength of a man who doesn't beg, but chooses. So how do you stop chasing? It's not about being cold, it's about being centered. You train yourself to wait. You observe patterns, not words. You reward consistency, not chemistry. You stop showing up where you're not being invited with equal interest, and most importantly, you stop tying your self-worth to whether or not a woman likes you. Because here's the Stoic truth. Your value isn't up for debate just because someone isn't smart enough to see it. Self-reflection. Where in my life am I still chasing women instead of attracting them? What am I trying to prove by being nice all the time? Would I still be this attentive if I truly believed I was the prize? Because if the answer is no, it's time to stop chasing, not to punish her, not to manipulate her, but to respect yourself. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Niceness. Why women don't trust it. Let's make something brutally clear. Women don't fall for nice, they fall for real. And most of the time when you're being nice, what you're really being is manipulative. Now I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but think about it. When your niceness comes with condition, when you compliment her hoping she'll give you attention, when you do favors hoping she'll develop feelings, when you listen to her vent just so you can stay close, that's not kindness, that's a transaction. And women can smell that kind of niceness from a mile away. It doesn't feel strong, it doesn't feel grounded, it doesn't feel safe, it feels fake. Because real men, stoic men, don't need to be nice to earn something. They show up as themselves, they speak directly, they don't flatter for access. They don't pretend to be low maintenance just to get noticed. They aren't scared to walk away when their standards aren't being met. That's not mean, that's masculine integrity. And ironically, that's what women trust. Because women don't just want a good guy. They want a man whose goodness comes from strength, not from fear of conflict or fear of being alone. Here's what she's thinking when you're overly nice too soon. Why is he complimenting me this much already? Why is he agreeing with everything I say? Is he like this with everyone or just when he wants something? And suddenly your good intentions turn into red flags because there's no edge, no standards, no identity, just whatever you need me to be. But no one, man or woman, respects a shapeshifter. They respect a foundation. So let me ask you, is your niceness an honest reflection of who you are? Or is it a mask you wear when you're afraid your truth won't be enough? Would you still be this accommodating if you weren't afraid of losing her? If your answer makes you uncomfortable? Good. That discomfort is your invitation to change. Because being nice isn't the problem. Being nice to avoid rejection is, and when you learn to be kind without being a doormat, when you speak directly without trying to charm, when you hold your standards and still stay grounded, that's when niceness becomes nobility, not neediness. That's when women start paying attention. Chapter 4. The Power of Non-Reactivity. Why Indifference is so attractive. Let's talk about something most men never master, the ability to stay calm when she's testing you. Because she will. She'll pull back. She'll cancel plans. She'll post that flirty story. She'll go cold just to see how you respond. And when that happens, the average guy starts spiraling. He texts more. He overexplains. He panics. He starts trying to fix something that isn't broken, or worse, was never his to control. But you know who doesn't do that? A stoic man. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't chase. He doesn't spiral into self-doubt. Why? Because he understands one truth. You cannot control another person's interest, but you can control how much it controls you. And that's the source of his power. Non-reactivity is the ultimate flex. It tells her, without saying a word, that you're not driven by emotion. You're not scrambling for her affection. You're not on a leash that she can yank whenever she wants attention. You are the man who can sit with discomfort and not react, who can hold space without filling it with words, who can feel attraction and still walk away when your standards aren't met. That kind of energy doesn't beg, it commands. And whether she knows it consciously or not, that's what draws her in. Because the moment you become reactive, she feels two things: power over you and doubt about you. But when you stay still, when you smile and continue your day, when you don't chase her shift in energy but simply match it with calm distance, that's when she leans in. Not because you're playing games, but because you're showing her you're not playing hers. Daily stoic practice. Non-reactivity. Pause before you respond. When something triggers you, breathe. Say nothing for 5 seconds. Your calm is your currency. Journal your emotional patterns. Recognize the moments that pull you out of control. Awareness is the beginning of mastery. Match energy. Don't chase it. If she pulls back, so do you. Not with anger, with elegance. Practice letting go. Every day ask yourself, what am I gripping that's costing me my peace? Then let go, even if it's just a thought. Self-reflection. What emotions do I let control my behavior in dating? Can I remain still when tested? Or do I react to avoid discomfort? Am I being consistent in who I am, or shifting based on her actions? Because if she can shake your frame, you never had one. And if you're always reacting, you're never leading. So be still, be focused, be unbothered, because indifference to chaos, that's not coldness, that's power. Psalm chapter 5. How to hold power without needing control. Here's something most men get completely wrong about attraction. They think power comes from control. Control over her attention, control over the conversation, control over where it's going and how fast it gets there. But true power, stoic power, has nothing to do with control. It has everything to do with certainty. Because when you know who you are, when you live by your principles, when your self-worth doesn't rise and fall based on someone else's response, then you don't need control. You already have influence, because you're in control of yourself. And that is rare. That is magnetic. That is masculine. Women don't want to be controlled. They want to feel safe. And there's nothing safer and sexier than a man who doesn't need to dominate her. Because he already dominates himself. He's not checking her likes. He's not policing her energy. He's not overanalyzing every word she says or doesn't say. He's just calm. Because he's not there to possess her. He's there to share space with someone who's aligned. And if she's not, he doesn't argue. He doesn't plead. He doesn't try to fix or chase or convince. He simply walks away with peace, not as a tactic, not to win the power struggle, but because he understands what doesn't meet my standards is not a loss. It's a filter. That's what makes stoic men different. They hold power, not through force, but through restraint. They don't use emotion to manipulate. They don't control the narrative just to feel bigger. They don't need to be right. They need to be rooted. That creates a different kind of attraction. It's not excitement. It's not obsession. It's not fantasy. It's respect. And respect is the foundation of every real connection, romantic, professional, or otherwise. How to practice power without control. Stay grounded in your values. Don't shift them to fit someone's approval. Lead with truth, even if it costs you short-term validation. Let people show you who they are. Stop managing perception. Stop over-explaining. Let your consistency speak for itself. Give space freely. If someone pulls away, let them. If they want to leave, hold the door. If they return, make sure they're aligned before letting them stay. Lead with choice, not attachment. Know that walking away is never a loss when peace is what you're choosing instead. Self-reflection. Am I holding space or trying to hold on? Do I lead from clarity or react from fear? Would I still be calm if she stopped choosing me? Because that's the test. Not whether you can stay cool when she's all in, but whether you can stay grounded when she's not. Because when you let go of control, you create space for influence. And influence earned through stillness and certainty is the highest form of power. Chapter 6. Final reflection. Stop being nice. Start being stoic. Let's land the plane. We've been sold a lie since childhood that if you're just nice enough, if you're polite, patient, agreeable, and low maintenance, if you do all the right things and never make waves, she'll see your value, she'll reward your effort, she'll love you for how good you are. But here's what most men eventually realize. Being nice isn't enough. It's never been enough. Not because kindness isn't powerful, it is, but because kindness without strength is just a mask. And women, especially high-value, emotionally intelligent women, can tell the difference. So stop being nice if what you really mean is, please don't leave me. Please choose me. Please notice how hard I'm trying. Because that's not kindness. That's fear in a suit and tie. And women don't fall for fear. They fall for centeredness. They fall for truth. They fall for a man who lives by his code. With or without them, that's stoicism. The stoic man doesn't chase because he's not starving. He doesn't perform because he's not pretending. He doesn't overthink every word, every glance, every post. Because he's already grounded in something bigger than attraction, self-respect. He shows up fully. He gives with depth. But he never asks someone else to complete him. And when he senses misalignment, he doesn't argue or beg or negotiate. He simply chooses silence over scrambling, distance over desperation, peace over performance, because that's what men of substance do. So I'll ask you one last time. Are you being nice, or are you avoiding rejection? Are you leading from principle or from fear of being alone? Are you building the kind of life someone would want to be part of? Or are you still just trying to be picked? Because here's the shift. When you stop chasing, you stop bleeding value. When you stop performing, you start attracting. And when you stop being nice to be loved, you start being respected for exactly who you are.